Okay guys, so before we start the video, I just wanted to quickly say that there's quite a bit of talking that I do in this video, and I apologize. It's the only way I can convey this information out to you guys. And then at the same time, I kept the editing pretty minimal because I've had a lot of people on my Instagram pretty much requesting and begging me to get the video out as quick as possible, because what we're about to do here is a game changer. So make sure to watch the video all the way to the end, because I'm doing this for free. That's the only thing I ask. Watch it till the end and then leave a like, and then yeah, go follow me on Instagram if you guys like this technical stuff. I do a lot of like little 1-2 minute things on Instagram explaining a lot of stuff. So yeah, let's get into it. So the reason why I'm making this video is because I have an issue. Currently, my practice car has a 3.53 welded differential that came out of my 350Z. A 3.53 ratio works on a 350Z because it has lower RPM and a little bit more torque than HR. So this is an HR car, by the way. However, for this car, it's because I'm running 19-inch wheels on it also. That plus the 3.53 differential, the wheel speed in second gear is like 72, 73 miles an hour. Actually, I think it's closer to 75 actually, which is, it's too much. Like the car struggles to keep wheel speed up in like tight corners. First of all, because it is a heavier car, and then it has slightly less torque than a DE. To get around that, currently I'm having to run very small wheels and tires. Those are 18 with like a 35 sidewall tire. So I'm trying to keep the wheel speed down under like 68 miles an hour to help the car. But the only real solution we have is to change the gear ratio to what it came with originally, which is the 3.69. And I have the differential sitting right here. I have a 3.69, I have a 3.53 as a spare also. But if you notice, that says vlsd on it. Now, vlsds are absolute garbage once they're a little bit worn, because they start to behave like an open diff. Hence the reason why I took the welded out of my Z and put it into there, because there's nothing worse than having an inconsistent diff, which is what you're gonna get with the vlsd. But the thing is, you're not really supposed to weld a vlsds because they have friction discs inside them that just tend to break apart. Now, I will say, I know people that have very good luck with welded VLSDs, and I know a lot of people that have shit luck with VLSDs when you weld them. So what I'm trying to do in this video is I think I might know a way to completely lock the diff together without necessarily welding it. So I was watching one of Luke Fink's video where he has a VLSD. If you don't know who Luke Fink is, it's like a very well-known drifter in the community. Super good driver. He has a VLSD and he shimmed it to get it to work better. And that kind of gave me an idea, what if we can use the same technique to actually completely lock the diff together? A VLSD is just not built for drifting. It's never going to be as good as a two-way clutch type LSD. Now you might be saying, well, why don't you just upgrade to a clutch type LSD? Well, they're like $1,200-$1,300. They're very expensive. Ideally, a clutch type 2-way or 1.5-way LSD is the best solution for drifting. There's no arguing that. People might say, no, a spool or a lock diff is the best option for drifting. It is not, because when you get on the clutch, you need those wheels to unlock, because you can really set the car's rotation characteristics up just from the differential alone. You can't adjust shit with the lock differential. It's just not going to happen. So with all that being said, in this video for now, we're going to be just trying to figure out how we can get that 3.69 differential locked together without welding it. And I think I have a solution. So let me tear it down and we'll show you what's going on inside that. Okay, so once you guys have the axle stubs out and the cover off, all you got to do, I'm not going to film this because it's kind of pointless. You got to undo these 4 bolts right here and then just tap it out lightly or pry it out. But whatever you guys are going to pull out, make sure you just lay it down somewhere in an even order so you know how everything goes back in. So I got the main unit out. It was kind of a pain in the ass. What I did is I stuck a screwdriver on the side and I pried the gear itself right here. I pried it out. And then once it came out just a little bit, I stuck a pry bar from the top here, and then I just kind of like tapped it out. But make sure when you guys take it out, keep this in order. So like, you know, I kept it in order. So the shims are right there, another shim right there, because that is responsible for the lash between this and that. So make sure that's all correct. Next step, we have to unbolt these to separate it out. So let me do that and I'll get back to you guys. Okay, so if you're an idiot like me and you forget to borrow your friend's impact gun to loosen these, this is how you do it. So you get yourself a socket that's, you know, outside diameter similar to these holes. Stick it in there like that, and then basically then you can just take your socket like that, or a breaker bar, stick it on there, and then just squeeze the two together. It is a lot of pressure. There you go, but it broke loose. So once you have that broken loose, obviously then you can get it loosen it however you need to do. I have a smaller impact at 3/8, but it's not strong enough to break those loose, so I'm gonna just loosen it with this, and then I'm gonna completely take the bolts out with my little impact gun. Okay, so what a battle. I should have thought about loosening all those bolts while it was still in there, or I should have just borrowed my boy's impact gun. But we finally got all those bolts loose, and if you notice, I made markings right there. I just made 2 just in case. So when we do unbolt it and drop it down, when it's time to put it all back together, it's gonna go together the same way. So let's unbolt this, drop it down, and see what we got. I'm pretty sure there is nuts from the other, or bolts from the other side that we're gonna have to loosen also, because I can see them right there, right there. I'm pretty sure that's the actual part that holds together the piece that's responsible for squeezing all the discs together. So yeah, let's unbolt it, and I'll try to drop it down for you guys. Oh man, this is not fun. So it looks like it's got screws right there, which I don't think I'm able to take those off because I don't have the special tool for them, but we'll try. Let's see what we can do. Oh, never mind. That actually came out pretty easily. Normally you have to get like a impact driver for these because they're like kind of on there pretty tight. Okay, I'm a little worried because this might be spring loaded, so I'm actually going to put one back in and just kind of see if I can get it to split open a little bit. Oh, okay, it's cool. So it looks like it's split open. So we're gonna keep this facing upward. So in Luke Fink's video, all he did is he just put a thicker shim here, or just dropped another shim down onto it, which makes sense. It's gonna tighten up the clutches inside. You don't need to take anything out. I just took it out because I'm curious and I wanted to see what's it like in there. But yeah, so put it back in there, and we're gonna try to find basically almost triple that distance, so it presses down onto it pretty hard, and then we're gonna just bolt that other piece down onto it. So let me see if I can find some shim that size or close to it. What Luke Fink said in his video is the shim has to be the size of like a car fender thickness, which is, I want to say it's like 3/4 of a millimeter, maybe 1/2 millimeter. So I'm gonna try to find something that's like maybe 1 millimeter or 1.5 millimeters thick, put it down, and then bolt it down, and hopefully that locks all the clutches in there together to where it can't spin from each other. That's the idea. Now I don't know how it's gonna work until I actually get it on the car, so we'll see. Let me see if I can find something that big and I'll show you guys. Okay, I really lucked out. I had these laying around just from another project that I was working on. These are not gonna get used, and I just had them sitting. So these are insanely thin. They're like damn near paper thin. So what I think Luke Fink did in his video, the thickness that he used, it's probably 2 of these. I'm gonna just double up on it. I initially wanted to go way thicker than this, but I think I'm gonna start off slow and work my way up to having it fully locked, because I don't want to overdo it to where I bolt everything down and something's under tension, and then when I go to clutch kick it just explodes. I don't want that. So we're gonna just throw these on here, and then all we're gonna do is just bolt it down. Just a little bit of wiping, cleaning, make sure there's no debris on there, and we're gonna send it. Oh, let me make sure my marks are correct. Got one there, got one there, perfect. Should be right there. Cool. Okay, so I do see a little bit of a gap there, so I'm assuming when I tighten those bolts down, that gap is gonna close, and that's how the diff is actually gonna engage inside. And yeah, we'll just tighten it down, see what happens. I'm gonna tighten it down with just the screws first to see how much torque it actually takes. Remember these screws that we took out? Let me get this onto the edge over here. Get my screwdriver on it. This one. Okay, so I can see a little bit of a gap on it. We'll tighten it down with the screw and see if the gap actually closes. Okay, so the gap actually did close, and it took a good, it's still a little bit of a gap. It's gonna close, but it's gonna take a good amount of torque to close that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put the ring on it now, the ring gear, and actually just start bolting it down to see what happens to it. I'm almost tempted to just put one more shim in there, but I don't wanna do that yet, because I wanna see how this works out on the car itself. So let me bolt it down. I'll slowly start torquing them all down, and I'll get back to you guys afterwards. At the time that I'm filming this clip, I haven't actually had a chance to, you know, go out and actually test it and drift the car. I do have a drift event coming up pretty soon, but I don't want to risk drifting on the street because where I'm at, there's a lot of cops. I don't want to risk getting caught. What I will do is when I take the car to the gym later on tonight, I am going to try to see if I can at least hit a few corners. As of right now, I've already actually done that. I've kind of slid the car around, like just around a corner, and it actually locks up pretty nice. On U-turns, the differential stays completely open, but the minute you touch the throttle, it locks up and it acts like pretty much like a welded diff, which is kind of what you want on a street car. You don't want it to be fully locked all the time. But yeah, I'm not promising anything. If I would have been able to drift it, I'm gonna add this clip probably before you're watching this. But if I haven't, I'm sorry, I can't drift it. I am gonna be going to a drift event soon, but I am pretty confident in the car. It's gonna slide nice. You guys might have noticed that the fitment on this car is actually kind of insane, in my opinion anyways. I did do a video on that. If you want to check that out, all you got to do is click on it because it's coming up right now.